Ani sego wache bojo pegotit. Senecas knomagem kun mina mampi akingetek mi gwenda inagdanjgejik. Mishnabek wendat minahod nashoni. Dapnanan Treaty 13 Toronto Purchase. Ganolswin Katmuat Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Minwa Williams Treaty. Inoswin Katmuat Mississaugas Minachipwas. Kinago Enching, Treaty Bemadsajik, Abdeko, Hui Mondo Kime, Kinamadwin, Man Na Dendwin, Minwa, Hui Nagdwin, Mang, Nunga Manda, Kigiyabe, En Daat, Yawan, Mibna, Nishnabek, Mina Meiti, Mina Inuit, Kitchenenda me, Kina Mamwe Wi, Nagdwenj, Ge Man. Da ake mina nepish.
Maybe I'll position myself over here. Over here? Right here? Actually, I cannot. Okay, so leave me right here.
Hey.
Step one. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to our masterclass, Dining with Italian Cuisine, Well-Being with Taste. Welcome. So my name is Alfonsina Chang, and I am the chair of the School of Hospitality and Tourism. And I am so delighted to have all of you here today for this really, really special event. Our first, and hopefully this will be a tradition for us. And we're celebrating the Week of Italian Cuisine around the world through this masterclass. So you'll have the opportunity today to sample little delicious Italian meals, as well as exquisite wine pairings ahead. So it's going to be an immersive experience that is going to be led by our very talented chefs today. At this point, I would like to invite Michelle Hutt, who is our Associate VP of Academics, just to give a welcome. Thank you.
And thank you for sorting out the queue spot. I appreciate it. So I don't have much to add beyond what Elfie said. Congratulations on hosting an outstanding event today. I'm here on behalf of Marianne Mirando, our Vice President Academic. I'm always so proud to see the kind of initiatives that take place at Seneca, and more specifically in the School of Hospitality. And so I know and I trust that you are in excellent hands today. And this is just one example of how experiential learning stands out here at Seneca. So thanks for being here, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Michelle. At this time, I would like to extend an appreciation to the Italian Trade Agency, or ITA, for their support and implementation for today's event. And here today from ITA is Pietro Goglia. Pietro Goglia is the Deputy Director of the Italian Trade Agency of Canada. With extensive experience in promoting international business programs, Pietro has coordinated projects in the departments of agri-food. He has coordinated the industry and SMEs of Lombardy region in Italy, as well as the Road to Milan Expo 2015, which has an initiative for promoting Italian exhibitors at agri-food trade fairs in Italy to international traders, journalists, and opinion leaders. Pietro has also collaborated as international expert to the Italian Trade and Investment Program for Balkans and a secondment Italian expert to the Investment and Promotion Agency for Kosovo. At this point, I would like to welcome Pietro Goglia to the front.
Alfonsina, thank you, Michelle. Too many words, I would say. So, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed Dean, faculty members, Professor Alfonsina Chang, Vice President Marianne Marando, and Dean Jeff McCarthy, and students of Seneca College. I express my heartfelt gratitude for the warm welcome on this concluding day of the Week of Italian Cuisine in Canada. A part of the global celebration, organized by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation and the Italian Trade Agency, aimed at showcasing the authenticity of Italian ingredients worldwide. We believe Seneca College, a hub for learning and innovation, can significantly contribute to incubating and fostering the art values and cultural richness of Italian cuisine. We feel deeply honored by this prospect. Today, our spotlight shines on Emilia Romagna, a culinary MVP boasting over 200 traditional products and 26 EU-protected ingredients, from Parmigiano Reggiano to balsamic vinegar and heavenly prosciutto. Emilia Romagna offers a delightful array of culinary excellence, pasta, wines, olive oils, and more. We have a virtual delegation representing 25 esteemed companies from Emilia Romagna, eager to explore the Canadian market. Their profiles are showcased in an online catalog. Following their participation in meetings with Canadian importers during a purchasing mission to Rimini in September. This journey is poised to cultivate meaningful collaborations and forge connections in the framework of a partnership between the Italian Trade Agency and Confartigianato, an association championing talented artisans and farms, promoting a business program to bridge the gap between the reals of catering and trade operators. What's mind-blowing about Emilia Romagna is how it seamlessly blends tradition with innovation in its agri-food sector. From beloved family-run pasta establishments and consortia to cooperatives of producers and consumers, mega brand bakeries and cutting-edge wineries, it's a magical fusion of heritage and modern culinary brilliance. The landscapes of Emilia-Romagna, from the lush Po River Valley to those breathtaking Apennine mountains, create an extraordinary mosaic of environments that foster an outstanding variety of gastronomic wonders. I encourage you to savor not only the flavors, but also the connections and cultural stories woven into each dish. So, as we dive into Emilia-Romagna's flavor, get ready for a culinary adventure. In this journey, our esteemed Chef Luciano Schipano will help. He's a Red Seal certified chef who honed his culinary skills amidst the rich flavors and traditional cuisine of his Italian upbringing. Having mastered the art in Italy's finest kitchens, Chef Luciano ventured to Canada, swiftly becoming a respected figure in our culinary world. As the president of Slow Food Toronto and the Italian Federation of Chefs of Canada, Chef Luciano passionately advocates for local, sustainable, and ethically produced cuisine. He brings this dedication to life through Culinarium and Caffè 500 in Toronto, and most notably the renaissance of Boccaccio Ristorante Italiano. Today, Chef Luciano is here to share his expertise unveiling the secrets behind crafting homemade egg pasta. Right, Luciano? Correct. In the Emilian way. Get ready to transform into a pasta pro in your own kitchen. Now, without further ado, let's dive into the captivating masterclass that awaits you. Everybody, thank you very much, and buon appetito.
Grazie.
Sure.
Thank you, Alfonsina. Thank you, Pietro, for the gracious introduction. Thank you, everybody here at Seneca College, for the amazing hospitality. We are more excited than you, because I see your excitement, but we are very excited. It's a very unique opportunity to showcase what is the best of the Italian cuisine here. I want to introduce you Chef Anthony Sestito, who is not just my best friend, but also he's my business partner at Boccaccio Ristorante, and he's a master pasta maker. So I'm a little bit intimidated to be affiancato da Chef Anthony today, but it's an honor to be here personally as a Chef Luciano and as a president of the Italian Federation of Chefs. Thank you, the Italian Trade Commission and Confartigianato, for putting this event together. So today we want to talk about Emilia Romagna. Emilia Romagna, as Pietro already mentioned, is not just well known for the Parmigiano Reggiano, prosciutto crudo, aceto balsamico di Modena, but a lot of history actually comes from Emilia Romagna. We're going to talk a little bit further. Exactly. I should learn Alfonsina actually found the secret spot. So we'll see. But yes, so it's Emilia Romagna has a great history, but the Italian cuisine. So Italian cuisine is not what you know today. Italian cuisine is an evolution of food through time and space. Italian food is not what you or we are used to eat today. Italian cuisine is actually made by regional cuisine. We have 20 regions, and every single region contributed to build what the beauty and the taste of Italian cuisine is today. Italian cuisine is healthy, it's diverse, it's sustainable. There is an absence of preservatives. There is a lot of seasonality. It's seasonal. And that's why the Italian cuisine right now is a patrimonio dell'UNESCO. It's a worldwide recognized cuisine. It has a heritage. It's also well-being, because it's not just eating, it's a lifestyle. So let me say that. We have two categories of people, Italians and people that want to be Italians. No, without offense, but I like to joke a little bit, right? It's a candidate, yes, Pietro. I correct, but yes, it's a candidate. It will be, but we are very, happy to have the nomination to Patrimonio dell'UNESCO. And the lifestyle of Italians. So it's not just about the food. See, Italians, they don't really like food. They don't love it. It's true. We like to socialize. And see, to socialize, we have a food around because we need to get together. And this is the beauty. We pace ourselves with a glass of wine, some good food, and good company. And this is a secret for a long life. So here in North America, sometimes we don't realize that until it's a long weekend, that everybody stays home and they have a little bit of time to enjoy the family. Sometimes not even, because we keep working. We're going to have a little bit more discussion during my class, but again, l'Emilia Romagna, che è nata dall'imperatore Antoniano Emiliano. So the Emilia Romagna was named to the Imperator Emiliano. So that's Emilia. And Romagna from Romania, so that's the name of Emilia Romagna. But then through the food, we're going to again discuss during my masterclass, and I will also have Anthony who's going to give you a little bit more, the techniques and secrets about how to make a best pasta. Exactly. Anthony also owns he's a pasta shop, Pastaio, so where after a few trips to Italy, he's mastering and he mastered the art of making fresh pasta. Because Italian, they were not eating pasta as we eat today. Again, it's an evolution. Pasta has been introduced to Italians from the Persians, and then after the discovery of Amerigo Vespucci, they went to China. They found the noodles. They come back to Italy. Italians start making spaghetti. So it's all an evolution. We don't eat pasta with tomato sauce until Cristoforo Colombo discovered America. So it's 600 years that we start eating pasta with tomato sauce, the red sauce. But see, the beauty of Italians was grading ingredients locally made and make them to perfection. And they believe in that. They believe in a good food. Our grandmother was raising us with food that was homemade, that was wholesome. So kind of don't trust the store, the groceries, because there are preservatives there. But still, the European Unions actually has a very strict laws to no use certain amount of preservatives, certain amount of colorants. Despite North America with Monsanto, and that is my slow food part speaking, right? We have additives and colorants and preservatives in everywhere. And I give you a very example, mozzarella. Do you like mozzarella? Good. Now, when you got mozzarella in your grocery store, that mozzarella has a shelf life of 3 months in North America. In Italy, the shelf life is 3 weeks because the amount of preservatives. Butter. Do you buy butter, right? I believe you love bread and butter. Did you ever check the expiration date on the butter? No, doesn't have it. Check. Now, tomorrow, whenever you go to the grocery store, check your block of butter. There is not an expiration date. That scares me. Really. We have extra virgin olive oil. If we have a butter, 3 weeks shelf life. We have an expiration date. So, anyways, I don't want to really bother you all too much, but we're going to talk during the class about the beauty of Italian cuisine. I'm very happy to be here, very honored to be here at Seneca, to meet all of you and share my passion, my knowledge and skills for the Italian cuisine. Thank you again the Italian Trade Commission, Confartigianato, Seneca, and all of you who contributed to put this event together. Ora tutti a cucinare. Let's go to cook. Thank you very much. Is the mic working? We have our mic on. Not sure if they hear us. Good? All right, everyone, welcome to our kitchen now with Chef Anthony and Chef Luciano here. Today, introducing La Cucina dell'Emilia Romagna. We're going to make a very special recipe and going back to traditions. Going to make a garganelli alla zingara. Garganelli is one of how many shapes we have of pasta in Italy? Thousands, right? And I tell everybody, people, we don't really like pasta a lot. They say, oh, wow, what are you talking about? We like sauces. Yes. And because we love sauce that much, we decide to have a different shapes for pasta to marry it to the sauce. So it's a marriage between the sauce and the pasta all the time. And garganelli is one of those. So we're going to go deep after in a little bit on the history of garganelli, but probably garganelli can be also a precursor of pasta penne. Because
it's the original penne. Right?
See the shape?
Handmade sort of penne.
No machines?
No machines, completely handmade, rolled over on gnocchi board.
Beautiful. That was back in the days where they have no tools, not any mixer, no any mechanicals. Everything was handmade. And I still believe the pasta, before the discovery of America with the Cristoforo Colombo, was eaten, I was mentioned in my introductions, there was no tomato sauce. So pasta was actually not eaten as a savory dish. It was not a salty dish. Pasta was just eaten with the cinnamon and sugar. That is funny, right? A lot of herbs, a lot of spices. And again, that's the evolution of the Italian cuisine. Because, the Italian cuisine was a white food, like pasta peachy, or, the spaghetti, bucatini, cacio e pepe. That was the first savory dish was consumed with just the cacio e pepe, is a pecorino cheese, so cheese and black pepper, right? Then the evolution of cacio e pepe, when they start adding guanciale. So they start doing the carbonara, adding an egg. And even discovered the, Colombo tomato arrived, they discovered the amatriciana, so instead of egg. So this is, basically how cacio e pepe has, created 4 more dishes that are well known and well respected now in the kitchen. So we have to say also that the Italian cuisine, they never had the recipes. You always pass on the tradition from grandma to mom, the daughter to the other daughters, and so on. But the first person who actually put a book together, right, was Pellegrino Artusi. Pellegrino Artusi in 1780, he put together this beautiful book that I have here also on our table, La Scienza in Cucina e l'arte di mangiare bene, Science in a Kitchen, the art to eat well. So this is our actually first cookbook that we can say as a chefs we may have available. And La Marietta era la moglie di Pellegrino Artusi, the wife, and now in Formin Popoli, if you go in Emilia Romagna, they have a Casa Artusi. So this beautiful school where they teach people how to make a pasta and how to cook Italian, right? So you've been a pasta maker for a little while.
A little bit, yeah.
So you know what is the art of making pasta. And the simplicity of the ingredients is just
Well, it's
amazing.
like you said, there's no preservatives, simple ingredients, right? When we talk about making pasta, it's either going to be flour and eggs or flour and water. And
Exactly.
That is it. That's
Yes.
the simplicity of it all. There's nothing, no additives, nothing fancy, nothing special, nothing that is
No
not
colorants.
organically, exactly, no colorants, right? Which we see a lot of here. Flour and eggs. Very simple. We use a combination of flour and eggs depending on what kind of pasta we're making, what kind of texture we're after, density, protein contents. We sort of play with these sort of different varieties of flour, but the core principles of it are always the same. Flour,
That's right.
eggs, or flour and water.
That's right.
Depending on if you're from the north or from the south.
Exactly. And when it comes to this pasta mixer dough, we see the egg noodles, the pasta con l'uovo, more common in the north, and in the south actually is just made with the water. And the reason because we have to understand that in the south of Italy, it's not just the peasant food, right? So the eggs were always reserved for the kids because they have to raise with a good protein, good source of energy. So the eggs were either to sell to make money or to give it to the kids. The north, right, they have a little bit more space and more accessibility. They used to have more eggs, so they actually mix the flour with the eggs, like in Emilia Romagna.
Exactly.
Fantastic. So garganelli is a special shape of pasta. We're going to see that after. The meaning of a garganelli is the gullet of the rooster. That is going to be a little the shape. So everything has a reason. This is the beauty, right? The romance of Italian cuisine that it always tells you
named
something.
everything to identify it to something.
So great, right? So great. So to make a garganelli today, chef, we have here farina doppio zero.
That's right.
I have a semolina rimacinata, and I have 3 eggs.
Right.
This is a good balance, so we're gonna get almost 500 grams of pasta dough. When it comes to eggs, I wanna just share a little bit of a curiosity. So when it comes to well, now I learned a lot, but when first I moved here to Canada, I used to buy eggs, and my recipe always went wrong. So, but I've been cooking this food for decades. What's wrong with it? So the recipe is the same recipe that I've been cooking in Italy. So the eggs are different. Because in Italy, when I say add un uovo, 1 egg, we just add one egg because we don't have a different size. Here we have a large, extra large, and we don't see a lots of medium eggs around. So in Italy, we have a medium eggs. So when you say one egg in an Italian recipe, that egg is a medium, which is equal to 45, 50 grams weight. So what I had to do in the past was actually measuring the eggs by weight. So instead to add the 3 eggs, I add 150 grams of beaten egg, right, to my mixture. So this is a curiosity that maybe not everybody, knows, and sometimes you get the Chef Luciano recipe, say, that chef gave me the wrong recipe. And then he said, okay, blame on me, right? The recipe that we make it today is also available to my blog, recipes.lucianoschipano.com. But to this, we're going to have 2 choices to make this dough. Handmade, we make a fontana, right? And usually we crack the eggs in the middle, we start mixing.
Start mixing, breaking the well, adding flour.
Right. And then you get the mattarello.
That's right.
My mother knows this very well. Or we go with the new technology,
I think
right?
that's what we're going to do today.
Let's do that.
No?
Okay. So,
Simplify it.
we're going to have 3 eggs,
That's right.
250 grams of farina 00, and 100 grams of semolina rimacinata. Where you can find these products, they're mostly very common in a lot of grocery stores, Italian probably more, but I haven't seen actually in even these big chains groceries.
No, not really. And specifically, the rimacinata is harder to find.
It's
more
hard,
so than the doppio zero. Doppio zero, you can usually find a pretty good doppio zero, maybe more formulated for pizza than pasta.
Yeah.
But which is fine, nothing wrong with that. But rimacinata certainly is a little bit harder to find. But small specialty stores,
Yes.
we sell it online as well. Too.
It's great, and I have to, give credit to the Italian Trade Commission. I had done a lot of work, that in these years to bring all over these products, promoting these products. Confartigianato is also an organization that put together a little artigiani.
Right.
So Confartigianato is a confederation of artisan small companies, which that's in Italy are all over, and they help to promote the small company to be overseas or promoting more business
We're
for
starting
that.
to see more of the products come over,
Yes.
become more readily available.
Oh
which is
yeah,
nice.
very good. So how we start mixing the flour first?
Yeah, let's put the flour in first. And I think the best thing to do, because we're working with 2 different flours, is we're just going to give this sort of a base mix. We leave them separate right now.
Okay.
You're going to end up with clumps of semolina, clumps of doppio zero.
Yes.
So I think the best thing to do right now, while we're cracking it, is just to let this sort of mix a little bit, so we get an even distribution.
And we can also sift it if you want, right?
sift
If
it
you
as
have a
well.
little.
Yeah,
Remember, my
absolutely.
grandmother, you always, sifted the flour.
Just to make sure I don't have any eggshells. I'm going to crack into a bowl first.
Yeah, that is actually a very extra safety, checking the egg and see that egg is actually a good egg.
No eggshells, all 3 good eggs. We're good. We can slowly start to add the eggs now. One at a time. Just want to get before we start adding the next egg, we want to make sure that the first egg is well incorporated, no clumps.
Then you understand we may always add a little bit more flour if we need it because the dough has to gather together to bind it.
Well, one of the things
Right.
you have to remember too is seasonally, the flours are going to absorb more or less water, right?
Right.
Depending on the humidity in the air, right? So generally in a more humid environment, we're going to have to adjust our recipe so that there's fewer eggs or fewer hydration, right?
Exactly.
In a climate where there's maybe less humidity, we're going to have to add more. So what I always recommend is it's important mostly to understand what the final dough is supposed to feel like,
Exactly.
more so than following the recipe per se.
Very good. So while you're mixing these products, let's go also over to the recipe. So garganelli alla zingara, why alla zingara, the gypsy garganelli? So alla zingara, it can be too, we have to go back in the history and understand why they call this recipe a gypsy recipe. So it can be for the colors, because we have a lot of colors. We have the yellow, the red. Gypsy, usually they dress up with all so colorful, so happy. So that it's great. That's right. Or we can probably think about the mix of vegetables and the meat, because it's made with a pancetta. Pancetta is the Italian version of bacon. With all respect for bacon, is a pancetta. So is the belly, the pork belly is seasoned. It's going to be fermented for 2-3 days, and then it's going to be hanged and aged for a little while. So we have here some pancetta DOP from Italy. As you see, it's no smoked. So I'm going to open the case. And then next to the recipe, we're going to have mushrooms, yellow and red pepper. You may use the green pepper as well. And we have onion. Now, if you see here, I have a white onion, chef. Because if I'm Calabrese, I'm going to get the red onion because of la cipolla rossa di Tropea. So in Calabria, in the south of Italy, it's very common red onion. Personally, I also like red onion a lot because it's very sweet. It's very flavorful. Give a little bit of an extra kick and profile in what we do. I don't mind the yellow onion, but I like the red onion, the yellow gold onion in my stock, perhaps. And I give you a little trick when you make your broth. If you do a chicken broth or a vegetable broth, use the onion with this skin. So if you really want to have a very golden, beautiful, velvety broth, the skin actually is going to give a natural color to our broth. It's not just the carrots or the celery. So go the onion, cut in half, or whatever you want to put it, the whole onion. Okay, this skin is going to give a beautiful color to your stock. And then we have mushrooms. So the mushrooms, I have here a mix, and I always like to mix my mushrooms of champignon or white mushroom, and don't wash your mushroom. The mushroom, if you wash, they're going to be like a sponge. They're going to absorb all the water. So you can either get a brush, and you're going to brush it all the dirt, or if you don't have a brush, just get a rag, and then you're going to just wipe it down, check if there is any dirt. So, chef, I'm going to call and kill and clean these mushrooms. And after that, we're going to slice it and going to make our sauce. Other component of this recipe, of course, we have pomodoro San Marzano. So San Marzano is a special tomato, like a Roma tomato. It's a little longer, and is the favorite, the best tomato for the sauce. The reason why it's the very good tomato for sauce is because it has not too many seeds, not too much water. It is a very meaty. There is a lot of pulp. So that's a lot of passata. That's why the San Marzano is the favorite tomato when it comes to make a passata. Today we're going to have a just peeled tomato, very simple ingredients. And again, see, Italian cuisine is just about simplicity. Very few ingredients. You don't go more than 5. Pepper, onion, mushroom, pancetta, extra virgin olive oil. That's it. So you don't really need 1,000 of spices. So that is the beauty. So again, the Italian cuisine has been an evolution. The first find the spices. After that, the Romans meet the Greek. So the Romans didn't know nothing about olive oil, didn't know nothing about wine. So Romans were eating, the nobles, the rich people were eating game meat. So if you see all these history books, they eat a lot of wild boar, pheasant, all this type of. The poor people instead were eating just pork. That's why pork is a very common in Italy for 2 reasons. Easy to raise, to grow an animal, and they're very, very convenient for the whole family. Because, mia nonna used to say that maiale non si butta via niente. You don't waste anything from a pork. Right. Everything, it's even the hair, they used to make brush. So the pork is really sustainable animal, in all sense. So that's it. It's very interesting. Then after the Greek arrived in Italy, they brought over extra virgin olive oil. Romans didn't know about this. They just used lard before. And they introduced the wine. Because Romans, to be honest, they were not good at making wine. To drink their wine, they used to actually add spices like rosemary, cinnamon, or cloves, and honey. Because it was like very sour, say aceto, vinegar, right? So they used to add the Greek, they brought over the gaglioppo and maglioppo. So it's very common in Calabria and in Sicily, where I come from. And these are very strong wine. These actually stay good on a good cold weather. It's a very high in sugar, so it's a very strong wine. And for a lot of times, so even the North used to buy grapes and juices from Calabria to actually cut their juices, so to have a stronger wine. So go back to our recipe. So I'm having here some gloves. And chef, I see that you're not using gloves.
No.
Why?
Well, whenever you're kind of working on dough like this, there's no way you're going to get a good grip on it, right? I mean, the important thing here is that we're trying to get good grip between the board and between our hands.
Okay.
You see what I'm doing with the kneading motion, right? Where I'm pulling it towards me, pushing down and pushing forward. There's no way I would be able to get that much
That's
grip
right.
on the dough with gloves on, right? So it's pretty straightforward, the kneading technique, right? So you're going to fold over, push down, push forward, and rotate and repeat.
It
Down,
sounds
forward.
like my grandmother. That's it. The instruction. They should
That's
give
right,
it to me
that's
how to
right,
do it.
That's right. And what we're looking for is we're looking for sort of a smooth finish to the dough, right? And we know that it's done and it's been kneaded enough when we can press on it and it sort of bounces back to us, returns back to its shape. That dough now is ready to go.
And also, you can understand how moist or is the
Yeah.
dough. With the gloves, you don't have that feeling.
You lose a little bit of the feel.
Is
That's
that right?
That's right, right. And as I
So-
was mentioning earlier, it's important to understand more so the feel of the dough and what it's
Yeah.
supposed to feel like, more so than it is the recipe per se. We have to make these micro adjustments, right? You probably saw that I was adding a little bit of water to the dough, just because of the climate that we're in this room in particular. It's a little bit drier in here, right? So the dough took a little bit more water to kind of adjust it and get it to a point where I was.
That's right.
satisfied with it.
It's such a beautiful the relationship that we develop with food, right? We talk about food like it's something so important, and sacro, al moment, holy at the moment, right? It's just great. So I'm going to the next step. So the dough has to rest, as you said.
Yeah.
I'm
About 30
gonna
minutes.
take the skin off. And now, because again, we have to promote sustainability, the skin, if you want, you can save it. You can do two things. You can add it just to your tomato sauce to flavor. But Napoletani, a little bit south than Emilia Romagna, they make a pasta e fagioli. So beans and pasta. So you're gonna do your cotica, your skin, cut it in strips. You're gonna add it to your sauce, and then you mix it with a borlotti or red kidney beans.
Yep.
And a little ditalini,
Yes.
or sure, small pasta can be cavatelli. That's it. You made another dish. So you don't have to spend more money.
Right.
Everything is in a kitchen can be repurposed and give a new life. So I'm gonna put this on the side. I'm probably gonna use it in another moment. So we're gonna dice our pancetta. So I'm gonna cut it this in strings. So there is a difference between pancetta and guanciale. So, and the first difference is where it comes from. So as I say, pancetta is the belly. When it comes to guanciale, is the cheek, is the pork jowl. It's a totally two different flavors. Even the consistency, the texture of the meat. So we are talking about two similar products, but different products. So authentic, as we do at our restaurant, Boccaccio, we do carbonara, best carbonara, we say that, but with the guanciale, not pancetta, we don't cut corners. So this is the best way how we do it. So bringing authentic food from a recipe to the table. But in this case, we use pancetta. Now, pancetta can be also flat or arrotolata. So what is a pancetta arrotolata? Still the same pancetta, but is rolled. So when you see the pancetta is made like a capocollo, so it's just a rolled pancetta. So the big piece is going to be rolled, going to put it in the elastic, and it's going to be hanged for that reason. So I'm going to put it all these strings here, and just slowly cut it. There you go. Chef, you're a pasta maker, so you developed this passion through the years, and you make this your own business today.
Yes.
What keeps you motivated every day? You woke up and you keep making pasta. Thank you for feeding us. I have to say that.
Well, what's interesting is that I get to work with a lot of local restaurants, local chefs like yourself, right?
Yep.
And I think what drives me every day is obviously my own passion for Italian food and my passion for pasta. Number one, it's driven by my travel to Italy, learning in Italy, the things that I've seen in Italy. There's no pasta like pasta in Italy. Hands down, bar none, there is no pasta like pasta. When I tasted pasta in Italy for the first time, that was what sort of changed my whole outlook on what we have available to us here in Canada, and I wanted to bring that back with me. The other thing is I'm very fortunate enough to get to work with alongside a lot of restaurants and a lot of chefs, again, like yourself, who are always like me on the hunt for something new, something fresh, something exciting, right? So that kind of drives what we do it's a big driving and motivating factor for us to try new things, do different things, come up with new recipes, and figure out new ways to use pasta, a very basic ingredient at its core, flour and eggs or flour and water, and transform it into whatever the chef or the restaurant's vision is, right? So
Yes.
it makes it very interesting for me. Very fun.
But
very
passion plays a big role in what you're doing and
course,
everything that you do,
absolutely.
all jobs that we do, which is great. I want to go to the onion. So I cut the onion in half, and I say that we have to dice the onion. So now, I said we are professional chefs. I want to show you how to actually we dice the onion. So we cut the onion in half. Then I'm going to cut the top at the end of the onion. I'm going to take the skin, so the dry part. Okay. I'm going to put this here. Okay, so how we dice an onion? If you just slice the onion, probably everybody does at home because doesn't have much time. Says, okay, this is chopped onion. We're talking about diced onion. So you take a measurement, right? We measure it? No, we don't measure. So we're gonna get 3 slices. 1, 2. Try to be equally distant. So we have 4 pieces. And then we're gonna do another cut, same distances. There we go. It's gonna be mess-free. Take this out. And then we're gonna just cut on the top.
Very nice.
And that's we're gonna get our diced onion. So, I'm going to finish dicing the onion, and while the onion, I'm going to then add the onion. I'm going to start making the sauce. The sauce won't take too long.
No, I'm going to start sheeting out some pasta, I think.
Chef, you can start sheeting some pasta. And now, the first steps that we're going to do is adding extra virgin olive oil to the pot. We have a shallow pot over here. A little bit of oil. I'm going to add the onion. When the onions start to get a little bit more soft, I'm going to add the pancetta. Pancetta has plays two things here. Give flavor,
Right.
so the profile, and give taste, because it's salted. So it gives it that very good. And I remember, even my grandmother used to add a piece of ribs, because they used to hang, the pork ribs, totally different the ribs that we eat here. It's like we hang the ribs, and just that was a flavor. In Emilia Romagna, speaking of Emilia Romagna, so you know the prosciutto crudo is deboned. So that prosciutto, the bone of the prosciutto crudo is actually used in the past to flavor soups. So you can get that bone that is a very salty, season it, right, over the year, it's dry. You add for 5 minutes to the soup and you take it out. That was back in the days how you flavor the soups, stocks in Emilia Romagna cuisine. So that's another very old traditions that we will say no artificial flavor or any of those. Okay, let me go here. I have some extra virgin olive oil. This comes from Calabria. It's actually my mother olive oil. I'm very fortunate to have this over. I'm going to turn on. Okay. The gas is on. We're just waiting for the oil to get hot. You never add oil and onion at the same time. You need to fry the onion. It's called soffritto. Soffritto means fried on top of something. Soffritto. So we're waiting for the oil to be boiling, quindi so hot enough. Quando l'olio frigge, we're going to add the onion. So we're going to fry the onion. If you do that all together, the onion is going to lose water, and you're not going to have the same result because the onion is not get caramelized. So this is the other trick that I can tell you. Onions, and that's again Italians, we play all with these ingredients because they are important to us. You're very fast.
I'm very fast.
So what are we doing here?
So what I've done is I've taken a little small piece of dough, okay, and I flattened it out as much as I possibly could, just to sort of get it through the sheeter here, the sheeter attachment.
Technically, it's like you're making a lasagna sheets, right?
Exactly.
It's like same
At this
process.
Point, exactly. At this point, what I'm doing is I'm just making lasagna sheets. Okay.
It's funny, if may I. So when the garganelli were invented, so the idea was if this person was making lasagna and decided to cut this in smaller pieces, or seems that this person was making tortellini.
I was just gonna say that.
Eh?
I was just gonna say
Okay,
that.
I'll let you finish that.
No, go ahead. Because it's interesting that that's the case because the cut that you would cut this in, the squares,
Yes.
are exactly the same size as you would make for tortellini.
Well, this is the beauty of the Italian cuisine. Can be a different regions. Even the same type of pasta has a different name, but it's the same type of pasta.
Right. All I'm doing here, Chef, is I'm just cutting this into strips, into small pieces. Again, same size that we would do if we were cutting it into tortellini.
And I reduce the heat just because you don't want to burn the onion. You want to just slowly fry the onion, caramelize the onion, and all the flavor of the onion. And this kitchen is already smelling so good. It's like, oh my God. I love the smell of soffritto. It's something that I really love it. And hopefully the other side, one day probably with this artificial intelligence, they're going to probably be able to even have the smell. Okay, I'm gonna start cleaning the pepper. And this recipe is just made in steps. So did you notice? So first step, do the onion, then we do the pancetta, you fry the onion, then you add the pancetta, and while the pancetta is frying and cooking, you can clean the pepper, add the pepper, you add the tomato, and you're done. So technically, you get your square.
Yes.
You close it like you roll it over.
Yeah. All I'm doing is I'm grabbing it from one corner here,
Yeah.
holding it on sort of this diagonal.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm rolling it over this this brass dowel here.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm rolling it straight upwards, and
To
I'm trying
close
to
it.
mate it up with the
Nice.
with the corner on the opposite end there.
Think about it. A piece of wood and a stick can create like an art craft.
And that's it,
Amazing.
right? And that wood, that piece of wood, that group piece of wood is the part of those ribs that you see there. Because we rolled it from corner to corner on a diagonal,
Yep.
that's how we're getting
Close.
that sort of penne shape.
Yes.
Right? On the way down, we get to the end of the corner. Not giving it too much pressure right now, but by the end of that corner there, you can see I'm pressing a little bit more firmly than I would
To
normally
seal it.
to seal it. And that's it. Should slide off the dowel pretty easily. And that's it. That's how you make garganelli from here.
Beautiful. But in Emilia Romagna, they have a lot of tradition for boar.
Right.
So garganelli is actually my favorite type of pasta. And it comes, well, I love tortellini, don't get me wrong. If they are made with a nice stock, you know, a
Yes.
broth of maybe
Yes.
a duck or a rooster, they're now very rich. But a rich sauce like with tomato, maybe mushrooms and wild boar, simmering for hours, the meat falling off the bone.
I agree.
That will be something
It'll be
really
beautiful with
beautiful.
This pasta.
And a glass of wine, of course. But I always invite everybody when you cook at home, call your kids, cook with them, show them ingredients, let them taste the ingredients, because that is just how we can capture their attention and curiosity about tasting new food, different recipes, and also teach them the recipe to cook eventually one day at their house. Even cooking has a social component.
Absolutely brings us together, right?
Exactly. So I'm gonna just cut the pepper, and this can be really randomly cooked. As long as you do small pieces, it's a very rustic recipe.
I think as long as they're all the same size, right?
Exactly. Can be even different size because some of them is gonna like melt in the sauce, give an extra flavor. The bigger one is gonna stay a little bit undercooked and be crunchy. So this is the beauty of this recipe. And speaking about health, pepper are a very high in vitamin C. They're rich in vitamin C, more than an orange. So people think, oh, I have a cold, a bad flu, I'm gonna eat an orange. No, add your vegetables, add your fruit, but pepper are very high in vitamin C. So I'm gonna add slowly the pepper. Very nice. And that's something for red. I'm gonna add to the sauce. So you were saying that the same, right? That was made for tortellini.
Yeah, this is actually the same size as you would typically make for a tortellini, right? So instead of folding these over and rolling them over a gnocchi board, right, and imparting that ridge, getting that penne sort of look,
Yeah.
what would typically happen is at this point, your meat filling would go into the center. This would be folded into a tortellini, right? When you run out of meat filling,
And then in Emilia Romagna, it depends how you close the tortellini. You can make a tortellini
you can make
or capellacci. Is that right? It depends on how you close, in or out. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right.
That's a creativity, eh?
If you don't have any filling at all, you can make a soppressini too.
Oh,
Right? Corner to corner. And your other corner.
there you go. That's an interesting shape.
Looks like a tortellini, just
But
with
it's
no
not.
filling.
Yes.
A lot of shapes that you can make out of this one sort of cut here, setup. We made all these shapes. Well, we made garganelli today, but you could make so many other different shapes and
Esatto.
different kinds of pasta with
But-
the same recipe.
It remembers me because down in Calabria we have the same shape of pasta but no eggs, just flour and water,
Correct.
lagane.
Right.
So we used to eat with chickpeas. Because it's very common in the Italian cuisine to eat legumes, right? A lot of lentils, abbiamo le lenticchie, ceci, chickpeas, beans. So they're very common in our diet. You cannot see it with the camera, but the onion is very now golden brown, it's caramelized. So the next step that I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna get in some of the mushrooms. So you can either cut the mushrooms in half and slice, or you can the whole mushroom and you just slice. But I like to cut in half. I like them a little smaller. And mushrooms for Italians are also very, very important in their diet, especially when it comes to porcini mushrooms.
Yes.
And it's part of our lifestyle. Going and picking mushrooms, foraging is another big component of the culture, like in terms of lifestyle also, because you don't just go to pick mushroom, but you go for a walk. Sometimes you go 2-3 hours. I remember I was a kid going to the forest, we go picking mushroom, no mushroom for that, but you've been walking for 2 hours. Fresh air, oxygen, that is very important for the body.
It gets you outside.
Exactly.
That sauce coming on.
Yeah, I'm gonna add the mushroom.
Beautiful.
So the mushroom I'm going to simmer, and after I'm gonna add a little bit of red wine. Because even speaking about wine, right? When it comes to wine in Italian cuisine, the most common wine is red wine.
Right.
So on the table, you always see red wine. White wine is something that over time has been used for cooking mostly, maybe for seafood, most than everything else. Let's say that probably the French, that give them a little bit of credit too. They are promoting using wine while cooking. They use also cognac, so that's say that. But white wine has been introduced recently on our tables because it was just used for cooking. Like you do stew, like coniglio, del pollo alla cacciatora. So there was white wine was only used for cooking. And my grandfather used to say that vino rosso mette sangue, so you have to drink wine for a good blood. So that's why they was always promoting the drink of the red wine. Okay, I'm gonna use some of this oyster. The oyster that don't really require a lot of work. That's very easy. You don't need even a knife. You just cut them in strips. So very, very simple. I like those because they're like meaty. They're hearty.
They have a different flavor to them.
Exactly. Very, very simple.
These are almost done.
Yeah.
Now the other thing we have to do with these before we can use them, it's really important, is we have to dry them out.
To dry.
Just a little
A
bit,
little
not
bit.
too long. We don't want to dry them out to where they're brittle.
Yeah.
But we have to let them dry out to a point where they're going to hold their shape even after they're cooked. If we were to just throw this in the water right now, these would collapse.
Okay.
Understand?
And you've been now a pasta maker for a while. Can I make this pasta in advance? Can I save this pasta? Can I freeze it? So
Absolutely. The best thing that I would do, and I tell everybody, is to freeze it.
freeze it.
Right? If you try and dry it, we don't have a controlled climate that we can dry things properly.
Uh-huh.
They'll end up cracking. In the fridge, it'll last maybe 2 to 3 days at most before it starts to oxidize. But the best thing to do is to freeze it. And you cook it right from frozen. You just add an extra minute. It's the best way, in my opinion, to preserve a fresh pasta like this.
But this is a good point. So, we can also learn how we can preserve our pasta. Because maybe, if we get together, we can make a little bit of pasta, and then I can cook something, I can save something, maybe for next Sunday or whatever, I have more friends.
Great
So
to get
keep
a nice-
freeze it, and then from frozen, right, to boiling water.
Right into the boiling water. Takes 1 extra minute.
Yep. Okay, my sauce is getting there. So the mushrooms are cooking. I think now it's time to add my wine. Benjamin Franklin used to say, I love that quote, right? I used to cook with wine, sometime I add to the food. Okay, we are deglazing with a generous glass of wine. It's time to adjust the salt. Not too much, because pancetta already give the saltiness to this dish.
Right.
And it's always, go easy on salt. Because salt is bad for your blood pressure. So it's gonna, even on a healthy side, too much salt, sodium, retains water, your blood pressure goes up, and then you have to go to the doctor. So that is important. Low salt in everything you do. Okay, now the salt, the wine is evaporated. I'm gonna add my passata. The sauce won't take too long, probably 10 minutes to finish the sauce. Gonna add the pelati, so right as is. You don't have to blend it, you don't have to do anything. So just add to the pot.
Pasta's just about ready.
We still have to make 1,987 pieces, so for everybody. Did you count them?
I've been counting, yes.
Okay.
I'm almost there.
With the help of a spoon, I'm just breaking the pelati. So they're gonna break in pieces. And all the juice inside the tomato is actually coming out.
Very nice.
See, I didn't add any water, anything. Because this is all the natural water that comes from the mushroom, the pepper, the onion. So you don't have to do a lot in this dish. And I don't use stocks in my cooking. So I see a lot of chefs. It depends what kind of pensiero they come from. But I don't use anything. I use only natural ingredients and natural flavors to my dish. So water, salt, and herbs are my secrets in my kitchen. And lots of love, of course. Love and passion, la passione. Okay, so now that we are just waiting for the sauce to finish, I'm gonna taste a little bit of the sauce and see how it goes. I have a pasta pot here with the water. You need a lot of water when you cook pasta. And we're gonna salt the water after. So I see a lot of people, they add salt and water, don't rush. Okay, so the pot is still there. When the water is boiling, you add your salt. That is a very important when you do this thing. So now I can take my gloves out. I don't have to chop anymore. Now while you finish the pasta, I have Giorgio. He's gonna join us and talking about vino, the wine. Ciao Giorgio.
Ciao. I hope everybody can hear me with the microphone. Someone take everything okay? So I am gonna take very, very little time just to talk a little bit about the pairing today of the wine.
Why is so important pairing the wine to the food?
Well,
Because
it is
everybody go
important.
crazy, this
There are
pairing.
different reasons, of course. Okay.
Oh, even better.
Okay. The integration in the flavor in our mouth needs some sort of support sometimes when it comes to food, because of course we need to integrate the flavor and the spectrum of the flavor with, of course, what we are drinking. But another important aspect is, and now I'm reconnected to what you said earlier, is the conviviality and the social aspect about the Italian cuisine. I really cannot imagine, okay, a table of Italians or in general people in Italy having food, and much with all the respect, of course,
Absolutely.
of water,
Yeah.
having water while they're eating pasta.
But
Honestly.
there is water in the wine.
Yeah,
too,
there is
so
water.
my grandfather used
Exactly.
to say
We
there's
are
no
safe-
one with that.
safe the formality of that, but really, like, we cannot expect water, just water. Water is very important, very healthy. We're very happy with water, but we cannot really talk about the conviviality and the social aspect and the importance of that if we don't take in consideration wine. The selection that we have today is not about wine of Emilia Romagna. There are a number of reasons for why we decided that, but also one of the reasons, and the reason that I would like to mention, is because these two wines, one of them you have already tasted, the other one we're going to be tasting it with the pasta. They come from two regions that are basically, they neighbor Emilia Romagna. The Pinot Grigio that you had a little bit earlier comes from the region of Veneto, which basically is on the east side, let's say east-north side of Emilia Romagna. Emilia Romagna and Veneto share, like, some important also connection and an exchange, or not, like the mutual
100%.
influence. And even more with the red wine that we're going to be tasting, of course, is the Chianti Classico from Tuscany, of course, which basically is the region that probably shares the most, probably with Lombardy maybe, is shares the most, the longest border with Emilia Romagna. I'm gonna leave
Again, Giorgio, they were all one region with the Roman Empire. So
Exactly.
now we have this region that divided the boundaries, but they were
Exactly.
actually all one land before. So
Exactly. And both grapes that we are tasting today are known for their versatility. Of course, they are super famous. Pinot Grigio and Chianti. I really don't have to really go into details because basically they are amongst the king of Italian wines. Sometimes Italian wine is reduced to actually Pinot Grigio and Chianti, which is not fair towards all the other grape variety. Let's just remember that there are 545 registered official grapes for wine grapes in Italy. Okay, autochthone basically. But of course, there are two of the grapes that today are among the most famous. Pinot Grigio is actually gives the names to the wine, but is actually the grape variety, Pinot Grigio, Pinot Gris in other countries. Chianti is not the name of the grape variety, it's just the name of the denomination, but is made with the Sangiovese grape. And Sangiovese is the king, okay? The backbone, I would say, that follows kind of like all the Italian wines throughout the Apennine mountain chain. Is behind amongst the most world famous wines in the world, from Brunello di Montalcino to the Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, the Chianti itself. We are talking about a grape that is very solid, a very strong structure, but is extremely versatile depending on where and how you grow it. And it's an important denomination. I'm going to leave it up, of course, to you guys, to everybody here, to taste and to perceive the nose also, because I have such a cold that basically more my shut down. So
you need
today
more
I
wine.
know-
Vin Brulé.
Probably I should. But the versatility and the flexibility of these grapes, especially the red wine, marries perfectly the kind of sauce and the pasta that we're going to have today. And of course, you're going to be talking a little bit about that a little bit further. So I think I'm going to leave it to you right now.
Very good.
But of course, we're going to be discussing that during also the
During
reception.
the tasting.
reception
Thank you,
section.
Giorgio.
No problem.
But the beauty, if I'm going to add even the same grape, different region of Italy, the profile is different because the climate is different, the soil is different, the water is different, the sun. So this is the beauty also of this long boot that we have in Italy, that from the north to the south give us so much goodness, and we are very, grateful to have all these wines, ingredients, so deep culture and history that talks to us from a simple glass of Pinot Grigio to a very simple plate of Garganelli alla zingara. So starting tasting, we're gonna start with a white wine probably, because it's lighter than a red wine. So that's also another thing. When you even go to a restaurant and you wanna have a different wine, you stick with one wine, or you start with a white wine and after go to the red wine. Is that right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
personally, with this dish, I will go straight with a red wine, just because the pancettas give a little bit of not the heavy taste, but there is a fat, right? So because of the fat, red wine is going to be perfect. The tannins of the red wine is going to cleanse the palate, and also because of the acidity of the wine and the fats, they actually marry very well. However, the white wine, the Pinot Grigio, can be a perfect pairing just because it's a neutral wine. Let me say that. Okay?
Because the way, especially the version, the Italian version of the Pinot Grigio, usually of course, depending on the company, the winery that harvests it, usually tends to be harvested a little bit earlier than later. In Northern Europe, it's usually later because they need to preserve a little bit of sweetness, and they try to take advantage of this.
Concentrated juice.
In Italy, we don't need this. We don't need this. Unfortunately, we had
a lot of sun. Exactly.
A lot of sun, and recently even too much sometimes. So it is important to preserve the acidity, and this is why, by harvesting a little bit earlier time, you preserve a little bit that acidity that gives great flexibility to the wine when it comes to the pairing with the food.
Yes.
It's a perfect accompaniment.
Exactly. So that's a little bit of knowledge about wine. Again, red wine, I would say that like a red wine would be perfect if you have a game meat, if you have a very heavy red sauce. Always go with the red. White wine is perfect for an appetizer to start your meal, but when it goes to an entree, I always recommend, unless it's not fish, have a red wine. If it's seafood, always, I have an Italian, always white wine and no cheese on seafood, please. Correct. So that is two golden rules that we really, like to stick on it. I like red wine to be nice and chill. The red wine brings me to memories. Also, when you get the fruit on the table, you add a little bit of peaches in the wine, you get, but at summertime, mostly, that's another story. But yeah, those are the two white wine, the wines that we want to pair with you today. We're gonna start cooking our pasta. It will take not too long because this is a fresh pasta.
3 to 4 minutes.
Is that right? So how we know when pasta is cooked?
Have a texture to it, an al dente to it, right? When we bite into it, we'll see that the center is somewhat firm in the center, cooked on the outside, right? That's how we know. Every pasta is going to take a different amount of time to cook, depending
That's a
on
beautiful
the size
Garganelli.
and
Look at
shape.
this.
Beautiful Garganelli. Beautiful.
We know you made it, so thank you, chef. But of course, we had to make this ahead of time. We have a few guests, they're waiting, and I believe they're salivating the other side. Eh? No, you moved too fast. I just closed my eyes. I saw this in a box, so you're good. So I'm just moving the pasta because, a little bit of moist. They can probably some of them touching
especially with
the
this,
other.
Yeah, this usually happens if it's been in the fridge or if it's been in the freezer. Obviously,
Yes.
it's fresh, so we kept it in the fridge, right? But that being the case, you want to kind of move them around and make sure that nothing's sticking together. Again, we dried out this pasta pretty well. Like the same we are doing with this one. We dried it out. We air dried it for 20-25 minutes. They shouldn't stick together, but they should hold their shape. If you can see, none of the walls
It's
are
beautiful.
crushed. Right? They've all held their shape. This is going to hold the shape
gonna add salt to the water. Be generous, don't be shy, because it needs to be salted water. I know I say low sodium, but this water needs to be salty. It has to give flavor to the pasta.
The only chance you get to salt to
Eh?
season the pasta.
Exactly. And then the pasta
itself.
will not absorb that much sodium. So that's another thing. I want to get a little spoon to try the sauce and make sure that I don't have to add. Delizioso. All right. So I'm going to add the pasta. Yep. So I see the pasta now is sinking to the bottom of the pot.
Yes.
Is this pasta we're going to float it up?
It will float. Yes. It will float.
So all fresh pasta does that, right?
All fresh pasta will.
Because dry pasta, no.
Dry pasta will never.
It's
But all fresh
interesting.
pasta, because it's more airy, porous,
Right.
lighter, it'll float to the top.
A few more. Okay, fatto. I'm gonna stir the pasta because we don't want it to stick to the bottom. I'm gonna turn off the sauce and just waiting for that to boil. But again, I want to take everybody the opportunity to thank everybody for this amazing time. Chef Anthony, thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely. Anytime. A pleasure as always.
It was fun. We learned something always new. Thanks to the Italian trade agency, Confartigianato, Seneca, all their attendants. I know everybody's waiting, they want to eat, but we need to say a big thank you for listening, watching us, and soon to taste these garganelli alla zingara from Emilia Romagna. So viva la cucina italiana, and stick on the Italian cuisine. So eat more Italian if you can. Okay, so the pasta still take a little, 2 more minutes.
I know where to stand now. So this has been quite the afternoon. Yes, we are salivating here on the other side. And we're looking forward to sampling some of the delicious food, what looks very delicious in the back. And I want to take this opportunity to say thank you. So a thank you to a team of people that made this afternoon possible. And I want to thank for the hard work and effort of Anahita Ben-Morpar for her administrative assistance today. A thank you to Camille Bayarkel, Heather Laver, and Giorgio Tinelli for their planning efforts. They each played a very vital role in our afternoon, so thank you. A thank you to Chef Ramesh Paretti, Chef Fred O for their support in the planning and implementation involved in this event, both in the kitchen and in our dining room. And a thank you to Chef Luciano Schipano, as well as Chef Anthony Sestito, for sharing of their talents with us and allowing us to indulge in what we anticipate to be a very delicious afternoon, and certainly a entertaining dining experience to come with Italian cuisine, one of well-being with taste. And thank you very importantly to all of you for being here this afternoon, for your attendance and your participation. We are very, very appreciative. Thank you so much, everyone. And please enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Once, actually, we can probably